Once again, I'm Jonathan Bell, and I'm going to continue this getting started discussion here with some tips on networking to use throughout the day and throughout the week. We're going to do a little bit of icebreakery kinds of activities to try to get to know each other a little bit. And I'm going to give a little bit of personal stories about my my first time that I attended an academic conference and my first splash, and how somehow I've got in here today. Connect somewhere. So a little bit of background using my preferred photo rather than what Kareem had on those slides. Um, since 2016, I've been an assistant professor. Before that, I was a PhD student. This fun trivia fact, this is my 7th Splash conference that I've attended. So there's certainly many at this conference who have been to more than 7. But I think through some trial and error, hopefully I've learned some good lessons about how to effectively attend conferences and meet people and network. I'll mention also on like a sidebar note that I'm by far a much better traveler than I used to be, especially when it comes to flying across the Atlantic and trying to sleep at all during that duration and not being totally destroyed the next morning. So here I am. And fun personal trivia that 2 of my favorite hobbies are cycling and eating ice cream. When I can combine them together, I find it works the best. Also, general disclaimer for pretty much the whole day. Lots of people are going to be offering you advice today. That's kind of one of the key goals of this workshop, right? Is to bring together students getting started in research careers and researchers who can kind of talk about their experiences. And everything is kind of different for different people. So take all of the advice that I give, that others give, with a grain of salt. So to start, I wanted to do a little bit of a poll. So, hold on. Let's try this once more. Hopefully the Wi-Fi will cooperate with us. Thinking. Thinking. Okay, well, it's going to work, just not working in this. So if you can have any technology working on Wi-Fi whatsoever, if you can go to this site, pollev.com/JonathanBell240. I wanted to gather a little bit of input from as many people as possible on what it is that you hope to get out of Splash. You can just put in a few words, and we'll organize this all together and try to see. Yeah. Let's give this one try. Slightly better. All right, well, why are you interested in computer science? Let's do that one. Oh, cool. And that one's working. That's awesome. That's a big improvement. Thank you, Mariana. Fun is like a very recurring word. That's interesting. I always love asking questions like this and then doing the word clustering thing because people don't necessarily realize as they're putting in the words which ones are going to repeat and come together. It's pretty cool. Watch everyone's answers come in. Stuff. So the reason why I asked this question is that kind of the purpose of this session and where we're going to go with this is to start having some discussions, right? Discussions that will hopefully continue throughout the week. And if you're interested in continuing to pursue graduate studies in computer science and in programming languages, hopefully continue to have over the next several years. And it is always useful to see what we all share together, right? As we're in the same room, in the same place, having these discussions. And if nothing else, we all have some interests in computer science research because we've all done something to get here. If nothing else, like we've traveled some distances, which is, can be difficult, I guess. And this is really nice, thanks. So let's just keep this all in mind today as we're going to start to ask each other to talk about things and share our thoughts, that we all have something at least that connects us all here, which is that we're all interested in computer science research in some way because I guess we think it's fun. Even if we don't think it's fun, let's see, sorry. Nope, shouldn't have done that. Even if we didn't think that it was fun, maybe it's something that can be impactful, that can let us explore new challenges. Some of it involves math. I don't like the math part. But that's okay, and that's why it's nice to have so many different options here, because we can all pick and choose, right? Cool. So with that said, I'd like to transition to make an important point to me, which is that you do not need to be an extrovert or particularly confident in order to meet anybody at this or at any other conference. Everybody that is in this room is interested in something that we all share, right? Which is, let's learn about computer science research and programming language research, and we're all kind of in the same boat here, right? So with that in mind, before we split off into some pairs, I wanted to give a little bit of background about the first conference that I attended and maybe share a few lessons that I learned that hopefully can be, if not helpful, maybe slightly amusing at least. So the first conference that I attended was not Splash. It was a software engineering conference called ICSE, and that was in 2011, and it was in Hawaii, which was really cool. Athens is really awesome for sure. It's like really amazing cultural sites right outside the door, but there's something to be said for like being on a beach, right? And that was me then. I was a student volunteer, so at most of our conferences, there are different kinds of activities that are available to students to either subsidize your way of getting here or to generally give you some other way to engage with the community. And so at this first conference, I was a student volunteer, which meant that I got to help out with organizing sessions. I got a fantastic free shirt. That was the real reason for doing it, and had a short paper and a workshop. And I will say that it was for sure quite a bit of fun. Beach. So what did I learn? Attending your first conference can be incredibly daunting, especially at a large conference like Splash. Throughout the week, there are going to be maybe 400-ish people here in this conference venue. And it can be a little bit daunting at first, because this is a lot of people. But it can also be really fun. Even if it's not in Hawaii, you still get to meet lots of people. And there are some strategies that we can follow for meeting people that are not that difficult, hopefully. So the first one is that even though the entire conference overall might be big and it can be difficult to see, like, what is my connection with this random person that at 10:30 or 10 o'clock we're going to break and go do a coffee break, and there are going to be like lots of people standing around from the entire conference. A great strategy for meeting people is to attend smaller workshops that put together a group of people that all have this shared interest, like in this case, this PLMW workshop, which is targeting students who are interested in pursuing graduate school. You can mingle with other first-time attendees. These are all people that you know out of the box that you share something with, right? Which is that this is all your first time here, and you can share your experiences together and realize that you're in it together, and the challenges that you're facing, probably your neighbor sitting next to you right here, or your roommate is facing similar challenges too. Also, you should meet other people too, not just first-time attendees, because hopefully those who've been around a little bit longer maybe have some other kinds of insights to share with you. And the last general suggestion that I'd have is to find and take advantage of student programs that force you to engage with people. And again, like, we can all pat ourselves on the back here because you've already done that because you're here, so that's great. I'd also say that the conference includes everything that happens in this building today. To some extent, it also includes everything that you're doing this week, though, right? So you're in Athens. This is an awesome city. There are a ton of cultural attractions to see and take part of. You can do that all alone, or you can do that with someone else. Why don't you do it with someone else? It'll be much more fun. Another file photo that I found from 2011 this was the complete group of all of these student volunteers from the student volunteer program wearing all of these awesome shirts. So, the memories that you form today, like if you continue on in this field, can stick with you. It was kind of cool and interesting for me to look back at this photo that now is 8 years old and think about the folks in here who I kept up with and went on into this research community, went on to other communities, went on to industry, which is cool. I have one more example of conference experience, which was from my first Splash conference, which was in 2011 in Portland, Oregon. And it just so happened to be that I attended this conference because I had been a student volunteer at this ICSE conference, and one of the volunteers there said, oh, you should be a volunteer at this other conference, Splash, too. It's a cool thing, and it's related to what you're interested in. And one of the interesting takeaways from that was this session that I saw where Guy Steele, who is one of the fathers of many modern programming languages, including Lisp, associated with Java, lots of other stuff, was describing square dancing as a programming language. And this was something that, like, I was a student and I was looking at the program and it's like, what are all the things that there are to do today? And this seemed like totally out of left field and unrelated to anything else. I don't know anything about square dancing, but it was really cool, interesting, and fun. So take a look over your program, find things that look interesting to you, find things that look unexpected to you also, and try to attend them all. Coffee breaks. In these coffee breaks, be about half hour each. There will be coffee, snacks, pastry, fruit, that kind of stuff. It can be an excuse maybe to kind of go off to the side and check emails or something like this alone. Or it can be an opportunity to meet people and mingle. Strong advice to attend all of the coffee breaks and social events, especially the ones that seem most off the beaten path, like the square dancing thing. This photo here was from that same Splash where I was hanging out at one of these coffee breaks, and let's just say an unnamed individual in the community started running through the coffee break area saying, you have to come outside, 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 because there was a lunar eclipse that was happening right then that was visible, happened to be like right where we were, and this individual had brought like binoculars with the UV filters that you could look at it. And it is just really cool to interact with others in our community in these weird ways. Last comment. Networking is a very virtuous cycle. So for every person that you get to know today, it will become easier for you to meet and get to know more people at this conference and this research community overall. I wouldn't have known to do this Splash student volunteer thing unless I had happened to meet this other student at this other conference, ICSE, and that sequence of events led to me then attending like all but one of these conferences since 2011, countless new people that I met, and like I'm here today partially because of this one little happenstance experience. As you go out and start doing your networking, I want to encourage you to meet people at kind of every level of this pyramid. You can start out by making the connections that are maybe the easiest to make with those who you share the most, other students sitting around you today, right? These are you and your peers today. For me, these were the least hard conversations to have, right? Because they're not necessarily the easiest, right? But I felt perhaps like I was least likely to hugely embarrass myself to someone who was very famous, and I didn't know that they were very famous, because if they were young like me, then what's the worst that could happen, right? But then as you keep going up this pyramid, it becomes maybe a little bit more difficult, but conversations that pay off much more in the long term, right? As you start to meet people who are a little bit further along in the process than you. Today, you're maybe just chatting about light things, but when you start applying to different graduate programs and you want some advice from someone who's been through this already, like those are the folks that can help you there. Senior researchers can give different kinds of wisdom, and I'm just going to say that I still feel like those kinds of conversations will be hard for me. But the high-level advice: build relationships across the stack, your peers, those who are a few years above you, and those who are more years above you. Yes. A few strategies for making introductions. Just walk up and say hi for your peers, right? Remember, you're all in the same boat, right? You're all here. Go to dinner, go to a museum, et cetera. For meeting more senior researchers, even if you're not all in the same boat here in terms of being new in this community, I'll assure you that there's pretty much nobody at this conference who does not enjoy a little bit of flattery, right? Oh, I loved your talk, Jonathan. That was really interesting about networking. Oh, yeah, I'd love to talk more about that, right? Showing a little bit of flattery and interest can go a long way. If there's someone that you really want to meet in particular, you can certainly plan ahead, come up with a question or some sort of first remark that's maybe based on one of this person's blog posts, papers, talks, so forth. So all that said, with the remainder of this time until the next talk at 9:45, I wanted to do a little bit of a networking activity. So I'd like everyone to find someone nearby that you haven't met. So I know that many of you are staying in the hotel that we set up, and you're staying with your roommates, so maybe you've already met this person. You maybe walked in with your roommate, so if you need to turn around or look to the side, that'd be great. And just start having a little bit of light conversation. Where are you from? How did you get here? And then you can start going through things that we know that we all share, like everyone in this room is interested in computer science in some way, that you came to this conference, perhaps some interest in programming languages research, and just start sharing. As you start having these discussions with each other, I would like to reiterate the Slido link that Kareem shared. So if you're having a conversation with someone and you come up with some question that neither of you know the answer to and would like us to talk more about, please post that on the Slido site, and we'll get back to those questions towards the end. Oh, also on the Slido site, you can do upvotes too. Sorry, forgot to mention. So if you see that there's some other question that someone else posted there, you can upvote it and say, like, I'm also interested in this question, then we'll see it more too. Cool. So we've got about 15 minutes now. So let's get to talking.